Hello everybody. Welcome back. This is Professor West, and today we are continuing our journey through Excel. I'm going to show you how to save and share a workbook, how to export your work, and I'm going to show you a bunch of the cell basics. So don't worry about what I've got going on right here right now. We'll get to that in a minute. So first things first, let's talk about saving. I want to do this first because once you start working on it, I want you to be able to save your work. So if you click right here where it says save, if you have already saved this somewhere and you've told it what to name it and all that stuff, then it'll just save the updated version over the new one. Over the old one. If you have not, then a dialog box will appear and it'll ask you where you want to save it and give you the option to choose a different location on your computer or wherever you'd like to save it and what you'd like to name it. You can do that through the back way by going to File, and right here they have Save, which will save, and Save As, which will give you the dialog box again. One thing you could do is click Browse, and Browse will bring up your navigation bar and let you go in and find the place that you would like to save this. In this case, I'm saving it into my Georgia Military College folder into this class and I've named it Video Example, which is why it says Video Example here. And click Save. If you want to name it something else, simply type in whatever you'd like to name it. My video. And if I click Save, it would save it as that now. I'm going to click Cancel because I don't want to overwrite what I've already done. So, the next thing I want to show you is how to export. Right here where it says Export, that means to send it out of Excel to somebody else. You have a couple different options. If the person that you're sending your document to does not have Excel, then you could choose Create a PDF file, and that'll bring it up as a PDF file which most people can open. They wouldn't be able to make any changes, but that still works. They'd still be able to see your charts and graphs and numbers and all that kind of stuff. If they have a much older version of Excel, then you could click Change the File Type, and you can choose the Excel 97 to 2003. Some people are still running the really old stuff, and I don't know why. Most of you probably won't be. But that's an option just in case. Some businesses simply don't upgrade stuff. And you have other options here that you can save as or export it as also. But I just want to make sure that those are available to you. Likewise, you could click Share, and if you have a OneDrive set up, then you could tell it to share it to everybody or some people from your OneDrive, which OneDrive is just Microsoft's online sharing place. Mine came up with a different school's name because I teach for more than one school, but that's okay. So let's jump into how and what a cell is. So first things first, right down the top, you have what we call a column, and this is column A. Columns go up and down. Then you have column B, column C, column D. Down the left side, you have rows. Rows go across. Here's row 1, row 2, row 3, and so forth. The little square where they intersect is called a cell. So this one, for example, is cell C4. We always do the letters first. So this one over here would be E5. This will become very important later, so you need to understand this. The intersection of a column and a row is called a cell, and it's done by E5. It's done by the letter and then the number. This will be extremely important later. So, how do you highlight a cell? Let me go and first talk about entering information. You can type whatever you like into the cell. So let's say I just type blah. So that's going to be there. Excel recognizes this as text, and it's going to treat it as text. On the other hand, if I enter a number, like let's say 5.25, notice how it moved it to the right because that's how you typically do numbers. You line them up by the right. So it tries very hard to automatically understand what you want the cell to do. But the cell under it's not going to be like that. This one is blank right now. It could be anything. If I wanted all of these to be numbers, then I would need to go in and tell it to do that, which we'll get to later. I'm simply showing you right now what you can do. So let me go over to my sheet that I created for you. I'm going to use this as an example, and right off the bat, I have across the top, I have some headings. So this is department, and it's instructor, instructor, advisor, instructor, dean, advisor, instructor, instructor, instructor. First name and last name, which I seem to have done those backwards. So let me just change that. So what I did, I simply clicked on the cell, and anything that's in the cell, if I start typing it right now, if I click on, let's say, this one right here where it says Jerry, if I click there and I start typing, and I put Bob or whatever, it immediately deletes everything that's in that cell and replaces with what I'm typing. On the other hand, when you click on it, if you come up here to the address bar and you click in here, now I could change part of it. So let's say Jerry spells his name I-E, or her name. And when you hit enter, it changes it for you here. So if I would have just came here and typed IE, that's all that would have been in there. So what we've got here is a little scenario, and I'm just going to show you a few little tricks and stuff that you can do. In this case, these are training seminars. Everybody's completed the first one, so everybody has an X by their name. So let's say now I got word that Sarah Smith has completed hers. So I'll go to put an X in there. And when I hit enter, I didn't put a capital X. Okay, so I'm going to go into the address bar and change that. I'm going to hold down shift and put an X, and that makes it a capital. Now let's say that I found out that all three of these people have just completed theirs. I can do something, I can go into each one and do it, or I can click on it and I can use this right here. See how this is a little different at the bottom right corner? That's called the autofill. If I grab it and drag down like this, it'll automatically put whatever's in this one into these. This works only if it's letters and not numbers. It puts exactly the same thing in it. If it's numbers, like this says part 1, part 2, part 3, if I grab this and drag it to the right, it tries to update the number as it goes. That'll be part 4, that'll be part 5, so that you don't have to retype them. If it's a letter, like if I would have grabbed X and drug it across, these would all still just be X's. This is very important because this can save a lot of time and effort later. Let me show you a few other things. So let's say I'm looking through and all of a sudden I realize that, oh, here's Alex Jones, and I accidentally have him on there twice. I want to delete him. If I come here and click on this one and drag to the right and highlight that row, I can come up here and I can click on the delete, and it's going to delete it and move everything up to fill in the gaps. It automatically moves it up to fill in the gaps. So let me undo that and show you again. I'm going to show you another way now. If you come over here to the right where the numbers are, see how it changes to an arrow? If I click while I'm over here, it highlights that entire row. Did the same thing a while ago when I was showing you the columns. If I click here, it would highlight the entire column instead. So if I wanted to highlight that row and then tell it to delete, it would delete that entire row and move them up. Now notice that the next row is already highlighted. It does that. If you click anywhere off of it, it goes away. So another thing you could do, maybe you don't want to delete the entire row. Maybe you just want to delete the information that's in the cell. If you click the delete key on your keyboard, it'll do that for you. Also, if you click the backspace key, it'll do the same thing. But it only does it for one at a time, apparently. But if you highlight them, you can click the delete key and it deletes the contents of the cells. Now, I could still come up and tell it to delete the cells, and it would move those up. Now I'm going to show you one more thing. So let's say that I need to move this entire row somewhere else. I accidentally put the information in here that was supposed to be in row 6. So here's something I could do. First, I'm going to highlight these cells, and if you move it over a little bit, notice how it changed right there. See how it changed to where there's arrows in each direction? If I click now and hold and drag it, it's going to move it over to that spot. So now I can just go in and say, oh, this is actually part 6, not part 2. And now it's all there for part 6. Another thing I could do, if I, for example, now realize that everybody's completed part 2, I don't want to have to go through and write part 2 and put all the X's in, especially if there's a lot. Maybe I've got 200 people on this list. So instead, I can highlight it, and let's come over here. And in this, where it says clipboard here on my home menu, we have cut, copy, and see how these little boxes show up to tell you what they are in case you're not sure, and paste. So what I could do is I can copy this. Let's highlight these cells again and click copy. And then come over here and click paste. And it automatically puts everything that's here over here. So now all I would have to do is change my heading again to say part 2, and now I'm back to having all of part 2 filled in. Now there's another option you can use called cut. And let me just show you that one real quick. Let's say I decided I wanted to use cut instead. So if I copy all of this, or actually highlight it, sorry. If I highlight this row and I click the scissors that says cut, it's going to stay here for now, but as soon as I tell it where to paste it, these are going to disappear. Cut literally cut it out and pasted it over here. Copy made a copy of it and pasted the copy here. So it's very important that you understand that, because sometimes you'll want to do one and sometimes you'll want to do the other. Okay. Another thing that you might have to worry about at some point is, I'm going to show you this real quick. If you click the little drop down under the paste, it comes up. Right now it doesn't have a lot there, but at some point when you're copying stuff, there you go, you have more choices than just pasting it exactly like it is. This one says keep the source formatting. So if I formatted things, then it would keep it. Some of these will do formulas. We'll get into formulas later. Some of these will paste pictures and different stuff. So they're not all the same, and you can go in and play around with some of those. But for now, we're just going to leave it like it is. So that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we will keep working on the next one. Bye for now, everybody. See you in class.